The hotel hallway tasted of varnished floors and midnight secrets, the kind that made your skin prickle when the single father lifted his fist to knock. He never dreamed that the next few breaths would smash his certainty, tilt his world, and force him to question everything he thought he knew. He had driven through hours of darkness, guided only by instinct, fear, and the kind of worry that curls tight around a parent's ribs. His pulse hammered as if trying to warn him of something he wasn't ready to face. And the moment the door cracked open, just an inch voices from inside poured into the hallway, slicing through his confidence. One sentence, one laugh, and he froze, rooted to the carpet, heart stuttering between disbelief and gut-wrenching truth. If you've ever believed in kindness, in second chances, in doing the right thing even when it leaves you aching, pause for a moment. Like this video, leave a thought below, share it with someone who could use a little hope, and subscribe for more real stories that hold on to you long after the last word fades. He didn't come here to spy or make a scene. He wasn't that kind of man. Being a single dad had forced him to become a planner, color-coded calendars, backup lunch, snacks, laundry that never quite ended, surprises. Those usually meant hospital bills, school calls, or tears at bedtime. Since losing his wife 3 years earlier, his world had shrunk into something simple but heavy. Pick up his daughter from school, pack lunches, soothe nightmares, pretend he wasn't falling apart inside. The woman behind that hotel door was someone he trusted, someone who had promised to understand the aching emptiness he lived with. When she said she needed a little space and a short business trip, he agreed because love, to him, meant letting go when asked. Still, something snagged at him like a burr under his skin. And it got worse when his daughter admitted she'd seen a photo online of a sparkling hotel pool far, too glamorous for any quick work retreat, that quiet. Nagging worry swelled into a full-blown storm he could no longer shove aside. The miles stretched forever beneath his headlights, every turn reminding him of late-night confessions, whispered promises, and how gently she'd tucked his daughter's curls behind her ear. He kept insisting he was being dramatic, that grief still warped everything he saw, that his mind played tricks on him whenever life felt too good to trust, but his fingers wouldn't stop shaking around the steering wheel, not from rage, but from a raw, bone-deep fear of losing the first real happiness he'd allowed back into his life. By the time he rolled into the parking lot, hope and suspicion were wrestling for space inside his ribcage. He forced himself down the carpeted hall, footsteps dragging, breath tight, until he reached her door. And then not the soft, thoughtful tone he adored. These voices cracked against the walls, strained and urgent. What spilled through the door wasn't laughter, it was tension, sharp and quivering. Words heavy with regret, accusations whispered like confessions. He strained to understand, and the pieces slid together. Someone wanting freedom, someone suffocating under responsibility, someone terrified of a future tied to a child who wasn't theirs to claim. His stomach plunged. The truth didn't hit like a clean blow. It sank in slowly, splinter by splinter, tearing through his hope. This wasn't the betrayal he'd pictured in panicked moments at red lights. It was messier, sadder, human in a way that hurt more than lies ever could. The knob turned and the door swung open. The sight inside both confirmed everything and explained nothing. The room glowed with soft yellow lamps, but the air felt brittle with heartbreak. Two people stood inside, both raw, both unraveling. He didn't erupt or demand answers. Years of raising a little girl had taught him that shouting only added more broken pieces to clean up. So he held his ground, silent, steady, watching as guilt and shock flickered across familiar faces. For a heartbeat, everything slowed. His thoughts drifted miles away to his daughter, curled up beneath her favorite blanket at her grandmother's house, believing her dad could protect the tiny, precious family they were rebuilding. That belief held him upright, kept him from unraveling right there on the patterned hotel carpet. The woman he cared for looked smaller than she ever had, shoulders caving in beneath the weight of her own doubts. He saw it now. She wasn't someone trying to break him. She was someone drowning in feelings she didn't fully understand. Someone who realized, too late, that loving a single parent meant loving the whole world that came with them. And the man next to her wasn't a villain, just a person hoping to be chosen instead of standing on the sidelines, wanting something simple he thought she could give. In that quiet, painful moment, the single father understood a truth that stung more than any accusation. When love lacks courage, it can cut just as sharply as betrayal. Not out of malice, but out of fear. He stepped back. No shouting, no slammed doors, no bitter words tossed like stones. He just turned and left, the hallway swallowing his footsteps. He felt older with every stride, as though the years he spent holding himself together finally caught up. The elevator hummed as it dropped, and it felt like he was falling two down through every buried panic and every lonely night since the day he became a widower. But somewhere between that elevator bell and the gliding lobby doors, something inside him clicked. The ache rooting him in place wasn't betrayal, it was clarity. A hard reminder that he couldn't gamble with a child's heart not his, and certainly not hers. Halfway devotion wasn't enough for a little girl who deserved a full, steady kind of love. Days drifted by. The silence between them stayed thick, but slowly it cleansed rather than crushed. He returned to the rhythms of life school mornings, packed lunches, soft giggles before bed. He noticed how his daughter studied his face, sensed his sorrow but trusted his strength. And he realized strength didn't mean swallowing pain until it vanished. Strength meant choosing a future that honored his past while protecting the innocence of the little girl who counted on him most. And slowly, so slowly, it took him by surprise. He found himself grateful for that late-night hallway, for stepping into truth before it could grow uglier. The pain hurt cleanly, instead of festering. In time, he forgave, not to welcome her back, and not to erase what happened, but because anger only weighed him down. Forgiveness, he discovered, was simply refusing to let bitterness turn him into someone his daughter wouldn't recognize. He started showing up in places he'd drifted away from: classroom volunteer lists, Saturday park outings, conversations with friends who'd waited quietly on the sidelines. He let himself dream again, not out of desperation, but from a gentle belief that happiness might return when he was ready to hold it. If this story stirred something in you, if it reminded you of a moment when truth stung first but set you free, later tap the like button. Share it with a soul who might need a bit of courage today. And subscribe so stories like this can reach people who feel unseen. Before we close, drop a comment. Do you believe honesty, delivered at the right moment, can change a life even if it cracks it open first? The single dad never regretted lifting his hand to knock that night. That knock taught him that love requires bravery, that children weave strength from the examples in front of them, and that sometimes the painful pauses in life are really invitations to write a new chapter. One quiet evening, He tucked his daughter beneath her blankets, kissed her forehead, and felt the truth settle warmly in his chest. His heart may have frozen once, but it still beat steady, hopeful, and ready to grow again.